Strategies for delivering positive and negative messages. Summary. Our goal today is to spread awareness of the importance of positive and negative messages. Specifically, for both positive and negative communication, we plan to determine the importance of these communications, indicate where you might make use of these communication methods, explain steps on how they are created, and develop strategies to cope with the refusal to act or listen. Importance of positive and negative messages. One of the most important concepts in business communications is to learn how to write positive and negative messages. As I mentioned, both of these types of messages have standard formats that we must follow. Each format requires creating clear, concise, and courteous messages. This consistency in message format is imperative as it allows for saving time to interpret the message, avoiding misinterpretation and giving misinformation, as well as catering to the audience, as it calls for knowing the knowledge of the audience. Importance of positive messages. Positive messages concept is quite simple. Simply tell the news in a straightforward, friendly manner to the reader. As you do this, you must always keep in mind the needs and knowledge of the reader. Importance of negative messages. We needed a way to politely refuse an idea, request, or possibly tell someone an unwanted task must be done. Enter negative messages. Since saying such things is difficult to do directly, we have strategies to maintain the bonding of the recipient. We provide alternatives or possibly provide concessions. Out of the two, negative messages are more difficult to write as they require you to talk in a positive tone while talking about a negative topic. That is, the topic may go against the reader's needs. Tone. As I mentioned before, a positive tone is important. What defines tone? Tone is defined as the emotions the reader develops as they read or after they read the message. Tone is a major factor that signifies whether or not the writer cares about the topic or reader. Sloppy messages or use of negative vocabulary in the message elicits anger and causes the reader to feel defensive. This is not ideal. Therefore, it's important that care is given to the tone of the message.
When comparing positive and negative communication, positive communication is typically direct, it's instructive and informing, and you're also willing to acknowledge the person on the other end. Marketing is a great example of positive communication because you can collaborate with others on product ideas, and you're also willing to acknowledge other people's ideas when it comes to marketing. Negative communication is typically indirect, it's persuasive, it's assertive, and you may have an unreceptive audience during negative communication. You may also use passive voice during negative communication. Being polite can be both positive and negative communication because it can be seen as passive aggressive if the person on the other end sees so. The second person can also be positive and negative communication because using the you tone can be aggressive in a way, so that therefore it can also be seen as negative communication. Active voice can also be seen as both positive and negative communication. And positive tone can also be seen as both positive and negative communication because you may come off as condescending on the other end. Explaining why the reader should care about the topic is both positive and negative communication because the person on the other end may be unmotivated and they wouldn't care about the specific topic, so therefore it can also be seen as negative communication. Work and school are also great examples of positive and negative communication. Where does positive communication occur? Positive communication can occur in marketing, where you're advertising a new product and you're collaborating on new ideas. Positive communication can also occur in the workplace, where you may have changes to a procedure, a coworker may get promoted, or you're just doing team building exercises in order to develop work relationships. Positive communication can also occur in school, where whether it's the news, a teacher praising a student for good marks, or you're just making friends. Where does negative communication occur? Negative communication can also occur in school, where the administration would decline a student's application, or a teacher would handle a misbehaving student. Negative communication can also occur in customer service, where you would deny a customer's request, or you're just handling a rude customer. Negative communication can also occur in the workplace, where you would have a conflict or disagreement with a coworker. A coworker may get fired, or a coworker may choose to quit, or you're just using passive voice with your coworkers. So the subject lines are the first part of the message that is read. Therefore, it must carefully summarize the entire message and grab the reader's attention. Also note that both positive and negative messages have a subject line. It generally is written in a positive tone, but it can also be written in a negative tone, which makes the reader more likely to ignore the message. Subject lines should be concise and informative, and also they should be generally short.
So overview of positive messages. The format for writing a positive message includes a subject line for email, an opening statement, a body section, and a closing section. The primary purpose of a positive message is to give information on a neutral to good news basis to the target audience. When conveying a positive message, using the direct approach is most favorable as good news does not require persuasion. So for the subject line, it should reflect the purpose of writing. It must be informative and it should include action words so that it helps the reader identify the purpose of the writing. The reader will know what they need to do based off the subject line. A good subject line is the key to whether or not readers will engage in the emails you send them. No matter how good of a message you think you're sending them, it is worthless if your target audience does not open the email. Creating an effective subject line will help you avoid the spam and trash folder, and it will help you get your messages where you need them. So for the opening statement, it can be as short as the writer wants, as long as it clearly helps pinpoint the purpose of the message. Avoid using excessive words in the opening statement and establish the main point. Do not include long explanations. An opening statement can illustrate a message with words. By creating an effective opening statement and listing out your points in your favor, you can reintroduce them during the body and emphasize on them by the mannerism and the tone of your voice. So, by the delivery of your voice. So the body paragraph in positive messages should complete the information that the reader needs to know. So information should be complete within the body, and it should also include uh, a paragraph, background paragraph, and facts. In the background paragraph, include details about yourself as a writer on the subject at hand, and in the facts, convey the details and give the reader the complete set of information regarding the subject at hand, so that they're able to take your desired action. In order to keep it clean and easy to read, you may separate the background and facts into two separate bodies. And you should also break the text when appropriate. Do not keep text condensed because it's harder to read and it's just too much on the eyes. So use bulletins and lists to your advantage. For the closing paragraph of positive messages, you should provide the target audience with what action needs to be taken explicitly. Specify an end date if it's an email. So, for example, if you're expecting a reply, specify the end date. Avoid using aggressive language and use a high level of mannerism. Use friendly and polite language with a clear call to action so that it helps increase the odds of receiving a positive response. And closing remarks are extremely important as it is the last message your audience digests before deciding to take action. If used effectively, it could be used as a motivational factor to have your target audience take the necessary action. So for strategies, there's a couple concepts to keep in mind while conveying a positive message. Follow the three-step process of a positive message. So analyze the situation and gather the information. Open this open by stating the request or main idea. Give necessary details in the body and end courteously with a specific request or main idea in mind. So when you're talking about granting claims, you should respond to claims when the company is at fault, the customer is at fault, or a third party is at fault. Pointers to grant. Thank the individual for reaching out. Explain the circumstances and what you can do in order to grant the in order to what you can grant in order to make the situation better, and apologize when appropriate. Keep your explanations impersonal and objective. Encourage a positive view on your company and clarify any remaining actions or steps when needed. Clarify any remaining actions or steps needed to be taken care of. When you're talking about pointers to claim, establish sympathy by giving praise, present facts courteously, avoid accusations without evidence, and close with a request for a specific action. Thank you.
Negative messages. There are 4 paragraphs while typing a negative message: a buffer, the reasons, the bad news itself, and the positive closing. There are 2 types of ways to administer a negative message: direct way, which is mainly used when sending a negative message to employees of the same company, or an indirect message, which is mainly used while dealing with customer service or dealing with people. The first paragraph, which is the buffer, or also known as the cushion, it starts off with positive information. Right? It addresses the business and compliments. It creates a bond and understanding between people. It establishes trust and results in an overall better mood for the negative message. And it eases into the negative message. This paragraph is where it's extremely important to use positive tone. Start off with a thank you message. For example, you can say, "Thank you for your order. We appreciate your interest in our product." There's no bad news included in this message. You have to stay on topic and avoid long and wordy sentences. Our tone and our language has to stay neutral, and we cannot use negative words. And we have to avoid apologizing and staying positive. The second paragraph is the reasons behind the negative news. In this, you have to include evidence of the reasoning, which could be illustrations or statistics or warranty or etc. We have to use a soft tone to explain the reasoning behind the bad news. We have to be clear and provide good details. And we have to write in a way which leaves a decision to the customer and provides a positive aspect towards their reasoning. The bad news paragraph. This is the third paragraph, and we have to state the bad news in a positive way so that even bad news sounds like a good opportunity. We have to make a request to the reader to perform an action. And we have to allow the reader to have control over their decision by providing them multiple options. This would give them a much calmer approach to the bad news itself. And we do that and we should provide alternatives to the reader whenever possible to avoid angry responses back from the customer. And then the last paragraph is the positive closing. In this paragraph, you have to use positive language, and the confidence is essential. The main thing is that we do not apologize about the negative message. We thank the reader for inquiring and their efforts. We use a positive tone to allow the reader to feel safe with their decision. And we avoid leaving the message for further communication. So we would avoid using, "We hope you continue to do business with us," or please contact us if you have any further questions." We will have to avoid using that. Instead of such sentences, we can use, "Come and check us out. Come and check out our new models." You could use that and end the paragraph in a positive tone. So some strategies to keep in mind while writing a negative message is you have to be clear and concise in order not to require additional clarification. You have to help the receiver understand and accept the news. You have to maintain trust and respect for the business or organization and for the receiver. And we have to avoid legal liability, which could be like avoid using abusive language or behavior, avoid contradictions, avoid confusion, and maintain respect and privacy. And we have to maintain a relationship even if a formal association is being terminated. And we have to reduce the anxiety associated with the negative news to increase comprehension. And lastly, you have to achieve the designated business outcome, of course.